Hello, this is Neena Perez at Straight Talk, No Sugar Added. Thank you so much for watching. This show is created to give you resources, tools, and tips, and to give you challenging thoughts to hopefully challenge and transform your thinking. So today I have an amazing organization here with me, and this is Chris and Elena. They are from Coaching and Counseling in Connecticut. And Coaching and Counseling in Connecticut is a unique hybrid practice that integrates solid cognitive science and creative concepts to deliver impactful insights and powerful transformative change in the thinking and behavior of their clients. So we wanted to thank you so much for being here. I really am enjoying your company. I know that this is going to be really fun and very informative for everybody who's watching. So I wanted to start, I always start with you guys letting us know a little bit about who you are. So can we start with you, Elena?
Okay. So I am the counselor of Coaching and Counseling. I've started a long time ago in New York, and then Connecticut was calling. And so now I'm here, I'm located in Norwalk and in Stamford. So I do more of the one-on-one work with counseling per se, and I know we're gonna get a lot into it. Is there more about myself that people want to know? I don't know.
Whatever you want to share. Whatever little or much you want to share.
Right.
That's great, though. That's really great. Chris?
Yes, so Chris is my name. I'm married to my lovely wife right here since January. We got married on January 26th.
Congratulations.
We're actually going on a honeymoon in 2 days to Barcelona.
Wonderful.
So it's going to be fun.
Yeah.
And then we're going to end the trip off in Germany, and I'm going to go pick up my daughter for who lives over there.
That's
and
really
then bring
great.
her back here for 3
In Germany?
weeks.
She lives in Germany?
She lives in Germany.
Oh, that's
yes.
fun.
Born and raised in Germany, going to school there, speaks about 3 languages, makes fun of me when I speak German.
Yeah.
I was speaking German to you a little bit before. You thought it was French, but that's okay.
That's all I know.
That's it. So yeah, she's in Germany. I did play professional football in Germany for 10 years.
Oh, wow, that's
why
great.
I had a child when I was over there. And I'm over here now building this practice with my lovely wife. Also, there's another extension of this, kind of like a sister brand of it when it brings in the physical aspect to the emotional and the mental side of creating that perspective and change too at a company I work with called Fatburn. So we're combining the physical, emotional, mental insights and perspectives that help people shift so they can take them from where they are now and ultimately to where they want to go.
That's really great.
Yeah.
And it's powerful,
Yeah.
right? Because when you combine all three, now you have something you can work with. You know,
Yes.
it's not just one thing and everything else is getting neglected. That's really great.
Yeah.
Right.
And I know that your clients tend to be women, right?
Yes.
Who put themselves last and have a hard time articulating their feelings. You know, women tend to do that. I mean, we're strong, right? So we have to, kind of like, cover our faces and keep it going, right? I know that you're also working with adults, right, who are overwhelmed in their transitioning. And maybe even young people who are going from being dependent to being independent, maybe? Or do you do that as well? Like, do you help students and stuff like that? Or?
Yes. I mean, we help a lot of people, and I'm a coach, she's a therapist. We utilize other coaches as well. And they're like, hey, you got to niche this, you got to niche that, a certain group of people. But what we found is we speak to a particular challenge and problem, and it just expands from there.
Right.
Now, tell them about your beginnings, who you used to work with.
So I started in New York, right outside of the West Point area. And it's also about as far as servicemen and women can work if they want to work in New York City.
Okay.
I ended up developing a specialty working with men who've had very intense jobs and working with them to really reconnect in fatherhood, reconnect as a husband, reconnect to their work so they're just not overwhelmed by both the trauma and the rapid decision making that needs to be made, and with precision, right? So that wears on someone years after years, and especially once they get into more management-like roles in that type of a setting. And that ended up being a lot of the demographic that I ended up serving. Yet when we would talk about how he was helping one particular person, we would see that the human experience is very much the same. We just put ourselves in these particular situations, and then it develops into how did it unfold there. So the strategies end up being the same as that we can really help someone. And the particular, I think, challenge that we're working with now is transitioning from anxiety, overwhelm to calm and balance. And what does that look like, and how does that propel you forward?
Yeah, so she was working with overwhelmed, stressed men who had the weight of the world on their shoulders. And then I was working with the overwhelmed and stressed women who had the weight in the world on their shoulders, especially professional mothers who wear a bunch of different hats.
Right.
Right.
And a lot of times people come and see me because of the physical way they look. Like, oh, I don't recognize myself. I'm 20 to 30 pounds overweight or even more. And they're like, I just don't know what's going on with me. I know what I'm supposed to do, but I just don't do it. And what I've found is like this loop that a lot of working professional moms get themselves into, because they're caregivers at the core, but they really are driven to make impact, even beyond motherhood. Right? It's not like putting motherhood second, putting the career first, even though they feel like they're doing that sometimes. But it's like, how do you balance it all while still having enough energy for yourself?
Right. And
you don't feel like you're doing things out of obligation, but you're feeling like you're doing things because they're calling you. And careful to not summit all the wrong mountains. Like achievers, like they just go, right? They bury their heads down and you just plow after the one thing after the other, the to-do lists. But what I found is a lot of times achievement isn't their challenge, it's more alignment. Alignment is the issue. Right? So how can I be a great mother, effective mother? How can I be a manager, a boss, head of a company? How can I be a great wife? How can I be a great daughter? Like, what do I do in my community? How can I show up for my friends? So those struggles weigh a lot on a man, a woman, even me. I was running 2 businesses, this, that, and the third, and I would complain about the parts I don't like to her. And after a while, she was like, she didn't say you complain every day, but she was like, I think you have anxiety. I was like, I don't have anxiety. I coach people out of anxiety. You're giving me anxiety right now. So she was like, you're getting trauma. I'm like, stop it.
That's enough of the counseling. Okay, I'm the coach.
Yeah, right. But you don't pay attention, and it becomes a part of your identity.
Yeah.
It's like, this is part of what you do here at work and in Fairfield County, where you're a driven person and you want to do what you think you should be doing because it's like, inside of you like that. Yeah.
Is that how CCC started? I mean, is that the roots of it? You guys just kind of talked about how you can serve a wider community. How did that start?
Yeah.
Pretty spot on. That's exactly how it happened. A lot over the dinner table, sharing that experience, what our work was like during the daytime, and then bringing it home. Who do you talk to? Your husband, right? And we sort of followed under the leading of coaching and counseling, kind of finding us, the idea, the merging, being able to serve people in 2 very different ways under one roof. Right. So it's sort of the full spectrum of mental health, where we know people who have gone to counseling, we know people who have gone to coaching, where they served in the same place. Was their counselor able to talk to the coach and really bring into light a lot of the deeper things? And was the coach really able to share what that big dream was with the counselor? So that's one of the things that we do.
Yeah, I'd like to bounce the ideas off to her. When I see that somebody's in the loop and it seems like I can't take them from a place of function to optimization, because I see they're stuck in one area of their life, then that's when I want to refer to her so she can kind of dig that stuff out and bring it to the surface. And it can just be in multiple areas of somebody's life. Doesn't mean like you have to be somebody that was diagnosed with like bipolar or this type of stuff at a young age. It's just that maybe you went through a breakup and it's just having you just not be your normal self. That's a state of dysfunction. Right. Yeah, for a little bit, because you're not recognizing yourself. Right. Right. And that's where she would come in.
And that's a great segue, because I was going to ask you what the difference is actually between the counseling and the coaching, because I think a lot of people get that confused. Coaching and counseling, and they're like, so what's the difference? I mean, I could just go to my coach and he'll counsel me, but you're like, I'm not dealing with that emotional stuff. That's what she's here for, right? So can you explain that a little bit? Like, what are the differences, and are there similarities? Like, how do people know who to call when they want to get in contact with CCC?
Definitely. Well, hopefully they call CCC, and then we can tell them and guide them to where they want to go. Right. On our initial intake sessions, we will be able to tell. Maybe not right away. Maybe it'll take a couple of sessions to really be able to tell, but that's why we like working in tandem together. But there's a couple of things I say when people ask. So I say she takes people from dysfunction to function, and I take them from function to optimization. Okay. Right? That's one way. Another way, it could be like, she's the scuba diver. She's going to go deep below the surface of the water and go searching for things that you otherwise didn't know that was there, right? Okay. Some of those mysterious things, some things in the past. Doesn't really have to be in the past all the time, but she's skilled at that. That's what her education's in. I'm more like the fisherman on the surface with the client in the boat to cast out a reel, bring a fish in, and like, do you want to bake it? Do you want to fry it? Do you want to broil it? Okay. What do you want to do with this?
Okay.
And it doesn't mean that I can't fillet out some of the people's limiting beliefs and the inner critic in their mind and those things. I work really well like that because we bounce our ideas off. I'm like leveraging her education and she's leveraging mine.
Right.
I'm
Right.
like, I love doing that type of stuff. Those are the distinctions I tell people when it comes to coaching.
That's really
Yeah,
good.
counseling.
Yeah. So I like to say that it's very similar. One of the biggest similarities is you have someone that's very present with you and walking through a journey with you. That is the relationship is very, very similar in a lot of ways. And I always like to share with people that you can have both sometimes at the same time working on two different parts of you.
I was
right?
just gonna ask
two
that,
different
yeah.
things. And the conversation sounds different, right? Because I like to say sometimes I'm trying to do symptom reduction, right? Because we always think of, okay, counseling, that's like a health professional. So what's showing up in your life? What can I take away? What's anxiety bringing into your life that we can do without?
Right.
And he is more bringing more into your life. What would more look like? Can you picture yourself with something more? What's next level? So it can be the same relationship with two different conversations. That's a little bit of what it looks like, and I hope that kind of clears.
Yeah, that
Clears
sounds really
it.
good, actually. So when a client calls or comes or whatever, so is it something, have you ever found that it's somebody that can benefit from both? Or do you always recommend one area and then go maybe into the next area? Like, do you do it that way, or how does that look?
Well, we find that people are looking for one.
Okay.
So it's more of what
That's
does that
good.
person want to
Yeah.
start with, right?
Right.
And they're looking to build a relationship with one person. Could be because we're busy, but could be because we also feel like there's so much to talk about. I
Yeah.
just want to start with one person.
Yeah.
Tell me what you think. Sit with me through this. And oftentimes I would say career transitions are the people that we work with at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's because a lot of alignment from
Yeah.
him, and it's scary, and it brings up sort of increases that anxiety that any person would have around finances, practicalities, and when we transition, a lot of our history comes up at that time.
Yeah.
So that's where I would be working, right? So kind of like the history, the deep diving. What are the patterns when you leave sometimes our work is our family, right?
That's true. I mean, you're with them a lot, sometimes more hours than you are with your family.
Right.
Absolutely.
So yeah, so that can be really tough. I mean, do you guys have like a certain style of doing your work? Like you're a football player, do you just go at them? Or how do you do this?
Exactly. I draw plays on the whiteboard. I'm
Yeah,
like, "Oh,
that's what you're gonna do.
No, but I do use a whiteboard a lot. Like, I love, so that's a good segue to that. So I like a lot of visualization, a lot of visual stuff. I can draw, so
Right.
it's not like so bad with stick figures and things like that.
That would
so
be
I
me.
can't draw.
Yeah.
But I don't spend all the time drawing, like Picasso or anything. But I'm drawing things out of people. They like to see their emotions on something, like visually can see the emotions. Like, what is that expression that I'm pulling out of you? What are the competing values or competing feelings that you're feeling? Why are you so stuffy in your thought? Let's go ahead and just write those on the whiteboard.
Yeah.
Or write them on a piece of paper if I'm doing online or something like that and sharing a screen or whatever it may be. So they can actually put some eyes on it and they're like, oh yes, that's exactly what I'm trying to say. Because what I don't do is take everything that they say at face value. I always
Okay.
listen to what's meant.
Okay.
Right? Then I look at the energy behind each word and each emotion. I like to get super, super present. So I make it a really safe environment. I give them the expectations up front of what coaching is and what they're going to expect in the session so they can actually know. And then I want to get so present where I can just see if they shifted their breathing, right? So present that I can tell if their eye twitches, the pitch of their voice, if they're playing with their fingers, just the body language, then I can see what they're really trying to say. Because you have a lot of practice speaking in front of a lot of people with a lot of hats.
Yeah.
And you might not really get heard. And that might be the frustration at the end of the day where you're like, I just didn't get heard about what I really wanted to say.
Right.
And you don't even know where that's learned from. Right? She's good at drawing that out. I'm good at drawing that out as well. I have a client I'm working with now, and the reason why she's just like a people pleaser, a Mrs. Nice Lady or Mrs. Nice Woman, is that she just can't say no, is because she was told to silence all the dysfunction that was going on in her household when she went to school. Mother would say, don't say a word, don't say a word,
Right.
don't say a word. And because she didn't want to rock the boat and bring more drama into the house, she would always be the one that was obedient.
Right.
But she wasn't able to find her own voice ever. So now that she just takes on so much at work, right? Saying things like, I'll get that to you by the end of the day. I'll get it to you in 48 hours. And she doesn't even have that much time to do that.
Right.
I was like, why would you lie?
Right.
She was like, what do you mean? I don't lie. Her number one value is honesty.
Right.
But she's lying. She didn't realize that she was lying. And it woke her up. She was like, I am lying. But not to other people. I was like, well, you are. But you're lying to yourself. That's why you're getting the anxiety.
So you call them out. You
yeah,
call them out on their stuff.
So I like to challenge them on their things so they can be like, oh my gosh, right? I was like, the reason why you don't say no, where you should say yes, and you don't say yes when you should say no, is because you still think everything's a threat when you grew up in your household, all through high school. And now you're bringing that here to work, always trying to please people, and you don't have time at the end of the day to work out, you don't have time at the end of the day to meal prep, to be with your kids, all the things that you say that you want to do, it's all because you're living to the expectations of others, but moreover, living to the expectations of your family back in the day. So
it's a good wake-up call.
Yeah, so that's why I like to get really present with them. I like to work with cognitive functions and personality types as well, and how people take in information and make value judgments on that information. There's 16 different personalities and 8 cognitive functions, and they're all different ways on how we see our world. Which is fascinating.
Yeah,
so,
I bet it is.
Yeah, we definitely love that stuff. And
have you feel like you've run do you feel like you've ever met all 16 personalities? Because you've been doing this quite a while.
No.
No?
No, because I think I attract a particular set of personalities.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah,
that's
interesting.
Yeah.
Do you use a whiteboard too?
I don't. His whiteboard is huge. I want to let you know it's life size.
It's pretty big whiteboard.
And I am stick figure lady, so
stick figure too.
right. It just it is what it is.
So how do you approach your counseling?
So the way that it's described in psychological terms, it's interpersonal orientation with evidence-based strategies, but most people don't know those terms. But what that means is that we found in psychology that a lot of the healing happens in a restorative relationship. We could think about it in our lives when we had that one person that made it feel comfortable for us to trust again.
Yes.
And that's one of the places, that's my office. That space with me I work very hard to make sure that it's safe, it's non-judgmental, and that I really see what that person's going through, and we can process in our relationship a lot of the damage that has been done and the mistrust that has happened in somebody else's relationship. So it's very, very personal. And then on top of that, I'm making recommendations and suggestions, and everything has an evidence-based back. But one of the most important things that we do is that we're having a conversation about what's at the core, what's shaping your perspective here that's leading to the anxiety. And oftentimes people have a history. I find that, the statistics are people wait 6 years with feeling below their normal before they actually go to have a conversation with someone.
6 years.
6 years.
That sounds about right.
Right?
It
is.
Sounds about right.
It is.
Yeah.
And we think once I'm starting to have that conversation, I want to make sure we're making progress. I want to make sure that there's a place where you are saying what needs to be said and it's being heard. Similar to the way Chris talks about really being present, that's part of the healing there, is really feeling valued also by someone. And when we're changing that core belief, it's because you've got so much more wisdom than when you first created that core belief, that I'm bringing in that wisdom that person has and saying, okay, now we're going to challenge that belief. We're going to create a more accurate one where you know that you're confident, you can have balance, and you can do and trust your ability to respond to all sorts of events, so that impending doom and that chaos is not your normal anymore. That's kind of my style.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it sounds like, the common theme is that you both are very present, and that it's safe, right? And that it's personal. Because I don't think you can coach anybody unless it's personal. You probably can't counsel anybody unless it's personal. So I'm sure that if you guys get people who are very surface and don't want to go deep, that's a challenge, right? Do you find there's a theme, or because as I read like articles and stuff, everybody's like, everybody's more stressed now, everybody's more busy now, everybody's more whatever. Do you find a theme in your clients, or a theme of an issue that happens with the clients nowadays?
Yeah, so a two things came up when you said that. One, people being addicted to being busy, right? Because if you don't feel like you're not doing busy work, then you're not valuable or productive. And that leads to anxiety, because then you're not really doing the things that you want to do to enjoy, right? Or being stressed out. I define stress as being here when you want to be there. But a lot of times people don't understand where there is. So they don't know where to cast their anchor into the future. They don't know how to bring the future into the now. They always feel like they're going to feel better later, but don't even have a target. So later never comes. Like 3 years pass, 4 years pass, and you're like, what's going on? You know. So I see that as a theme, and I also see that people are just unclear on the impact that they want to make. Like in Fairfield County, right? So, you know, you get a good job, you go to a good school, get a good job, you work that job, maybe you commute to the city a lot. There's a lot of commuters from Fairfield County to the city, and you do what is expected of you, passed down from generation to generation. You might have a mother who really is taking care of the home, making sure the kids get through school, and some of the kids might have an aptitude for school, and others, like myself, I really didn't think school too much, right? So the mothers will help them get through because they're bright enough, and you know, the culture is like, you're going to do this, you're going to get to a good school, and that's what's happening. So they do it. Then you go off to school, and now mom's not there to help so much. So they struggle, right? And they may be going into school for finance or the other things that's expected in their culture, and they rather just be a history teacher. But being a history teacher may be frowned upon, or whatever it may be. They might want to be an artist, whatever it is. So to be able to pour into the leaders of the household, the mother and the father, and say, look, we got to look at the values of each individual, then look at your family values together, and then see how that relates to the community values, and are you even in the correct community to begin with, based on each individual's values and your own as a family. Because out of nowhere, your 5-year-old turns 21. Right? I have a 21-year-old.
It's true. It's very true. You blink your eye and you're like, wow, now I'm dealing with adult issues with them.
Right, right. So how do you parent an adult child, you know, at the same time figuring out what you want to do with your life? And then if you have little kids in the household too, you're still doing that, then the finances and then the stress. So, you know, being addicted to being busy, not really knowing where you want to go in the future. I guess this is all transitions.
And stress, right?
And
stress. Do you find like it's that's your normal as well, finding that?
Yeah, I would say really similar. And I want to help people kind of bring into awareness of what anxiety really is. I think that it's not respected for as debilitating as it really can be, and how it can impact your day to day. So
that's a good point.
So I try to bring into a better understanding of what it is when it's present, so that way people are not waiting the 6 years, but also people really have learned while they're with me and with him how to address it faster, just more efficiently. So it doesn't end up affecting. So I think that's the only thing I could piggyback, because you really captured it really well, what's going on.
I think people don't understand what anxiety is at its core, because people say it all the time. I got anxiety.
I was just going to say that.
Right?
No, I was just going to say, people say that all the time. It's almost lost, because you said it can be very debilitating. And it's very important, but it's almost lost that value, right? Because when people, I'm so anxious. I have so much anxiety happening. Nobody takes that seriously anymore. They should, but they don't. You know, and it's because, like, it's so funny you said that, but it's true. We throw it around like love, right? Like, I love ice cream. I love this. I love that. I love this. And they don't really know what love is, right?
That's good.
It's the same thing with anxiety, right?
I love ice cream, though.
He might marry it.
That's
going to be his second marriage.
So anxiety is so. Do you think anxiety and stress kind of play together? Is that is that fair to say? That,
Certainly. Certainly.
So because I know stress, sometimes people feel that stress. I mean, I'll speak for myself. Like sometimes I'll feel like if I'm stressed, I also feel anxiety, or I feel like I'm anxious, right? But it might just be stress. So that's a distinction that I think none of us really know how to make either.
Exactly.
Definitely.
Exactly.
And anxiety is future focused. It's looking to control the future.
Okay.
Right? And then depression is trying to, the past, digging in the past.
Right.
So a lot of people have, challenges around staying present. That's the whole deal, right? So that's what we want to get them back to center, back to baseline. But some people so far removed from baseline, they're more in a depressed state, or they're more in an anxious state, they end up being manic and whatever that is.
Right.
So, she's very good at bringing people back to that baseline. Yeah.
So when you're feeling a current stress, then it's do you think stress is usually what you're dealing with currently then? Would you say that that's separated than seeing anxiety, which you said can be future, looking at the future, controlling the future?
Yeah. What do
Right?
you think about that?
Yeah, I would say it depends on, it's always depending on severity. We can be stressed about something going on. Are our mics going to work? Is everything going to go well in the near future, in the close to present? Or am I beginning to have a completely physical, mental, emotional reaction to it?
That's good.
Now I'm starting to forget, how do the mics work? Where did I place it? Am I forgetting something? I can't even think clearly. You know that time when you're just letting your mind wander and you come up with a scenario and it's just like, and you get a good response back? That's different. That's stress. That's our body working out to make sure that we really understand how to solve problems.
That's good.
And sometimes we can have a little bit of reaction. Anxiety is when you are not thinking clearly. You feel it in your chest, you feel it in your hands, you feel it in your stomach, and you just can't think your way. You can't problem solve
Yeah.
through it,
It's
although
very
you will try to
visceral.
control it. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's very visceral.
Yep.
I used to suffer from anxiety. That's why I say
Oh,
that.
so you know.
So it
Exactly.
was
So you have
it
the
was
actual sense.
It's an actual whole entire body experience.
Yes.
Yeah, it sure is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I deal with stress too, a little bit.
Right.
Right. But it's totally
sure.
different. I've been able to manage anxiety very well. I do it through prayer and meditation, and that works for me.
Yeah, stress
you
is
know?
like
Yes.
stress is like an emotion,
Yeah.
right? And anxiety is like a feeling. So
Yeah.
feelings linger,
Yeah.
right?
So true.
And then stress is like right there in the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's really quite remarkable, right? The way the brain
Oh,
works, right? And the challenges
Yes.
that you guys must face. And it must be, I don't know, maybe because I'm not in your profession, I think for me it would be a little bit of a challenge. You guys are professionals of like even knowing what I would want when I call CCC. You know what I mean? Like I would be like, okay, I want CCC because they're good looking. They look like they know what they're doing. They're very professional. Do I like it? Do I want to be with a woman who can understand me? Do I want to be with a man who would understand? You know what I mean?
Sure.
Right.
Like I'm sure that people think about that. What do they want, right? Like I remember when I used to go to therapy when I suffered with depression and anxiety. It was always like, do I want a man to listen to me?
Right.
Will he get it? You know, or do I want a woman to listen to me? Will she be sympathetic enough? You know what I'm saying? So I used to go through that myself, right? Like, oh, well, will she look at me and be like, oh, come on, get over it? Will he
Right.
understand more? Or be like, oh God, here's another woman just like complaining. You know what I'm saying? You
Right.
think about all these things. You do as a patient or
Right.
somebody who's coming to see someone. You know,
Absolutely.
so it's just it's funny how your brain works. Is what I'm trying
Yeah,
to say.
you
Like
know-
you really think about all those things. Yeah,
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
One of the things that we try to do is just break down the barrier.
Yeah.
We at least will talk to every person that calls for 15 minutes.
Yeah. Oh, good.
Right? So they can get a sense. They can get a
Yeah.
sense of what it's like to talk to Chris, what it's like to talk to me.
Yeah.
Do you get that sense that we get it?
Yeah.
'Cause most often
you know,
you
and
will.
that's super important. You know, it's those 15 minutes can mean everything to
It
that
really-
person. So I want to talk a little bit more about maybe some of the challenges and maybe some other great tools that you guys have, and because I like to give resources and tools to the people who watch the show and connect them with people like you who actually can give them the tools that they need to look forward, to move forward, and also to deal with things, right? So we always don't know how to do that. We get
Right.
friends' advice, which is really bad sometimes, really bad. So we thank you so much for watching. This is Neena Perez, and don't you move. We'll be right back. Hello and welcome back. This is Neena Perez at Straight Talk, No Sugar Added. And we have been talking to Elena and Chris from CCC, which is Coaching and Counseling in Connecticut. I want to make sure I get that right. And they've been talking to us about really great experiences and tools that they have for different people who see them for different things, right? Counseling and coaching being different things. They have different way of approaching needs of different people. So We have been talking about really great things, and you guys have been very insightful, and I thank you for that. I wanted to know, like, what do you teach your clients that they should learn most? What's the most thing you think your clients should learn through this experience?
Yeah. So through the experience of counseling, I want people to be self-aware. It is so powerful. And I don't think there's another profession that teaches you more about yourself. You can't find that anywhere else, right? You're supposed to be the expert on you in a lot of ways, and oftentimes we're not.
Right.
Right? So if I can bring someone to a place where they really understand what's best for them, what excites them, what calms them, what balances them, what triggers them, what boundaries they need to set, the way that they can set boundaries, what they need to do to prepare themselves for a conflict and resolve it in the way that feels most authentic to them to get the result that they want, and also how to communicate what it is that you're feeling and who to communicate and how. When we're working, we're working with that person, and we understand their relationships, we understand their career, because that's the big topic of how whatever anxiety is filling their life, or whatever problem it is that's kind of that barrier, how it affects those areas. So that would be the number one tool, helping someone to understand themselves and to communicate it to somebody else.
That's good. That's
Yeah,
really good.
definitely. I love playing the space of the impossible, and that space of the impossible is subjective to the individual, because people are more powerful than they know. And I like to help them with the clarity, because who you are determines what you do and how you do it, or don't do it, or how you have been doing it up to this point. And whatever got you to your certain level of success now is not going to take you to the next level. So what is going to take you to that next level? Maybe you've been cruising for so long, right? Maybe you got the plane off the runway and it took a massive amount of energy to get it in the air. That's usually when plane crashes happen, when it either landing or taking off, right?
Right.
But you're at cruising altitude. Sorry, I'm about to fly.
Me too.
Just like,
I'm only leaving tonight. It's fine. It's fine.
I speak in analogies a lot. It's one of my gifts. I scare people. No. So when you're at cruising altitude, sometimes people might have done it so long, and they just got so used to
you become
mediocrity,
complacent, right?
or average,
Yeah.
right? And that's only because that's not me making the judgment on somebody. They came to me for something to change, right? Definitely. So I don't even want a client that needs a coach. I want a client that wants a coach.
That's good.
That's it. Because if you want a coach, then you have some buy-in, right?
Right.
And there's a basic framework that I like to teach with my clients, because as humans, we all basically want the same thing. Love, joy, peace, kindness, being cared for. But there's like these 4 different perspectives or distinctions I like to teach clients, and they're basically goals, right? So you got your being goal, the stated being, like who you are. Like I am blank. Now a lot of people might say, I am lazy, I am depressed, I am fat, I am stupid. Like, where'd you learn that? Right? I am fat. Like, no, you're not a fingernail, you have fingernails. Are you a fingernail? No, right? So what are these I am statements, and how can you make them more powerful for you to make the shift to where you want to go, and you can take your family along with you, or your community, or your job, or wherever it is that you want to go. So that's a being goal. It's like people want to be proud of who they are, and they want to feel energized, and they want to feel some vitality, right? They all have relating goals too, on how they relate to another individual, right? I want to be cared for, not just care on you, but I want to teach you on how I need to be cared for. She does this to me a lot. She's supposed to do that, like step my game up. She's like my coach. Also, she doesn't know it, right? So how do you teach other people to care for you? How do you set those boundaries, like she was talking before?
So healthy to have boundaries.
It is.
How you want to show up for the people in your immediate circle of influence. You also have creative goals. How can you just do a little bit more to the thing you bring to the table before you hand in that report, before you go have that conversation? How can you sprinkle a little bit more of you in it, not what was put in your head when you were a kid or growing up, or what your community told you you're supposed to be like? Wait, you. How do you put a little bit more spice into that to get creative, right?
That's good.
Where is the contribution that you want to contribute? Because people want to know that they're doing something that means something. Even the most introverted introvert that likes to be a hermit, they'll do something and put it out there just to be like, do people know I exist? Do you know that I have something to contribute? Like, I have issues talking to people. I have social anxiety. I don't like to speak to people, but I got something to say. Let me just put that online, see if I get a like.
Yeah, I know people like that.
Yeah,
It's true.
let me do that.
Yeah.
So they want to know. So that's not a creative goal, right? You got the being goal, you got the relating goals, and you got the creative goals, and then finally you got those growth goals. Now this is where I love to play in the place of impossible. Like, growth goals is all about excellence
Right.
and enrichment, right? What can you do excellent? Like, I was literally mopping the studio the other day. I was super, super happy. I had Christian contemporary music on. I put my homegirl Stephanie Frizzle on. I was in my space, and I was mopping the floor with excellence. It was a big floor. So I mopped each individual tile, right?
Okay, so obviously
Each
you want some
individual
credit.
tile.
That was a good job, Chris.
So funny.
Yeah, so it's just doing it with
That's really
excellence.
great. Yeah.
That's it. And
Yeah.
then I was so happy.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, and all joking aside, you know, there is something to be said about that, right? Because you could have done that in a negative space, in a negative mindset. You could have done that complaining. You could have done that a lot of different ways. It's just, for me anyway, that would have been more fulfilling, right? To do it that way, to do it with the right music and mopping that floor and doing it in excellence every tile, right?
Every
big tile.
a lot of tiles.
Yeah, but you know, that says a lot though, because I know that, you know, when I used to, I mean, we were talking about years. I'm married now 20 years, so it has to be at least 15 years since I've ever struggled again with depression or anxiety, right?
Wonderful.
But I remember that back then was always a negative space, right? It was cleaning the house, complaining that I have to clean. You know, it was washing the dishes, complaining, why is there so many dishes? And instead of saying, wow, I have a family, therefore I have dishes, you know, right? So,
Reframe it.
so it wasn't until, you know, my faith walk started growing that my mindset started changing, and that changed everything for me, you know. But, you know, it's pretty, there's something to be said about, you know, putting yourself in that space where you are going to change the way you're viewing things and seeing things, you know. So I want to know if you guys have had breakthroughs. Like, what does that feel like for you as the professional, and what does that feel like for your client also when they get to that point of breakthrough? Do you know that point?
Yeah.
Yeah, right? Like, I
Yeah.
mean, there has to be like a look or a aha moment or a something where you go, they got it. They got it, right?
I can even tell when someone's going to get it later.
Okay. Is it an attitude thing, you think? Or
It's a truth bomb. And sometimes we just have to ninja and like plant it and leave.
right?
And we know we have 10 minutes left. You're going to feel this, we're going to have this moment, and later in your silence, it's going to explode.
That's good.
And it's going to be powerful. So I get excited for people sometimes.
Yeah,
And I can really see
sure.
something's going to happen. We jokingly like to say we saved a life today.
Yeah.
When we knew
Yeah.
a breakthrough is going to happen.
I get really excited when you say I saved a marriage today.
Yeah.
That's
That's
a jam.
Yeah,
That is
exciting.
exciting.
That's really
That's
exciting.
Yeah.
And I mean, when you're talking excellence, you just make it bigger, right? You make the joy bigger, because sometimes it is the small thing. It's the small thing that ruins something, and it's the small things done consistently that, oh my gosh, the harvest is it's so good. I remember this one particular person, and I knew it was getting towards the end of our session, and I knew she was going to have a breakthrough later. This woman, she just had a phenomenal job, and she was really overwhelmed at her job, and she had a very difficult time calming down when she wanted to be home.
Okay.
So that was why she came. She said, I know it's work stress, but I can't turn work stress off at all. We worked, and then we found, Chris talks a lot about someone's problem not being success, right? Because this person had it, but it was that alignment. So we talked a lot about why did she choose to apply here? And where did this become a normal sense of work life, right? And we talked a lot about how her mother and her home sort of spoke into her that people who serve underprivileged and lower socioeconomic demographics are going to struggle at work. So it almost validated that because the struggle was there, but she hadn't seen
I've
that.
heard that before, actually. So yeah.
Right? It's insidious.
Yeah.
And then it gives you permission to accept
it.
mistreatment.
Yeah.
And I knew she was going to get it. She came back the next session. She had 2 interviews. She ended up taking a job somewhere else, and of course, she found the love of her life there.
Oh.
It just ends up getting. I mean, right? So that exactly.
saved the life,
I just
girl.
saved
You
the
saved
life.
the
It was okay.
It's all in a day's work.
All in a day's work, and it wasn't even on the clock.
That's really
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
So that's like you saw not only the breakthrough at your session, or when you guys were going through that, but you also seen the reaction of it after, like
Yeah.
at her real life
Her
afterwards.
real
right?
life, absolutely.
Yeah, that's really great.
Yeah.
How about you, Chris?
Yeah, so happens in
Breakthroughs.
session, happens when we're done with our coaching client relationship. I like when clients say, I don't even know what to talk about anymore. I don't even need you anymore. I was like, no, you wanted to work with me. You never needed me.
Right.
So let's do some more work.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
That's very challenging.
It is.
When somebody is out of the stress, they're out of that low level energy, they're out of the worry and anxiety and the helpless or hopeless feeling. And now they're like soaring, and they've been soaring now. They've been working with me for 6 months, 9 months, whatever. Then it's just like, I don't even know what we should talk about. I'm like, we're going to talk about why you were born. Let's do that.
Right.
Right?
You bringing it all the way back. Yeah, you're not playing.
Yeah, but like, why are you here? Like, let's
Right.
now that you're out of this negative space
Right.
that you've been in for 42 years
Right.
or 30 years, whatever it may be. Now let's find out the reason why you were put on this earth.
Right.
Like, let's get there. And it's like, that's what I'm talking about, playing a space of
Right.
impossibility.
Right.
That wasn't even on their radar, right? Even if people make 300 grand a year. I was talking to this guy the other day. He literally told me, he was like, Chris, you don't understand what it's like to be from Fairfield County. I was like, that's fair, I'm not from here. He was like, it costs probably about $300,000 to live here. I was like, I think my residence is in Fairfield County right now. I know, yeah, I don't think that's a true thing.
Right. Right. No, you're right. Yeah.
So all this stress to make that particular type of money was taking him so far away for God's purpose on his life. And this is a guy that gets called for a lot of those things. And that's when he feels the most alive, not when he's making bonuses on his checks and things like that. So when I talk to him about these real things, and he just like looks up to the left and kind of like puts his head down, something like that, then I'm not like, oh, that's great. Anytime the hair stick up on my arms, every single time in a session my hair sticks up, I'm like, ooh, something's happening.
Right.
Like, this is, I don't even know I'm doing it. Yeah.
Saving a life.
I don't even know that I'm doing it. Like, I talk so much.
We should rename our business to Coaching and Counseling 911.
That's it.
Yeah, another change on that website.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
That's it. That's it.
What would you say is the most important thing that you can do for your clients? What's the most important thing? You could do a lot of things, right? Mm-hmm. What's like the thing that you go for? What's that thing?
I do something in my intake sessions that I call core clarity sessions. This
Okay.
is literally one of the first things I do, whether it's in the first or second session, but it's just right there. And it's a combination of a lot of things. So first, I like to use something called a value assessment tool. So I like to look at somebody's values, and I like to pull out their top 10 values.
Okay.
Then out of the top 10, I like to pull out the top 5 out of that top 10.
Right.
And then out of that top 5, I want to see what the top 3 is.
Okay.
Those are the
So
three.
you keep narrowing.
That's it, because you can have competing values, and your values change as you grow older. But those top 3 core values are like their 3 wise counsel. Those are the people that they're going to trust with their lives. That's their value. It could be a value of trust, honesty, family, excellence. It could be there's so many values, right? I just
Right.
like to see which one is their value. Then I want to challenge it to see if it is their value or it was planted by something else.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's
and
deep.
then if we can agree that it actually is, that might take a whole session right
Yeah.
there. That's why it might bleed into another one.
Yeah.
Because you might hit something right there.
Right.
And then after I fillet out their values, then what I want to do is create a new definition of success to them. What being successful means to them, and what are they currently doing now? And does it align with that? Is it a little bit? Is it a part of it? Is it so far removed from it? Because then you can address why their anxiety and the depression is there. So coming up with their own personal success definition, attached to their core values, and coming up with a personal mission statement that they can implement positive change in the next 2 weeks. That's what I want them to. That's what I want to turn in them. Right then and there, they're like, "This is what I do."
Right.
So if this is resonating with you, you sit with that. I'll check in on you for the next 2 weeks. No obligation to even sign up with me. I just want to do this for you, right? And then we'll see where it goes from there. So they can just experience coaching, because people, they don't have a coaching budget.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
They don't understand what that even is until they feel it and experience it at a visceral level. That's why it's really important that we get super present right there. Like letting a person know, like, you're the only person that exists in the world. Like, that's how I feel like right now when you're interviewing us in this room.
Yeah.
Right now, I feel like the only person that exists right now for you.
You are.
Right? So that's
This
powerful.
is really important. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is important for me, and it's important for everybody who's watching. So
Yeah.
you are the most important people right now.
I even forgot, I'm just chatting with you.
Yeah.
I forgot we're even being filmed and stuff. So that's being present.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you
Good.
brought that in.
Then
you
all
bring it.
right. All
You're
right, I'm coaching you.
professional.
I'm
Thank
doing what I
you.
gotta do.
Put you on retainer.
How about for you, Elena? What's like the most important thing that you can do for your client?
One of the most important things I would say is letting them know when they have false shoulds in their life. So that means something that's guiding them that was implanted, either implanted by a trauma, implanted by well-meaning family and friends who were asking them to live their life and not allowing that person to authentically live their own life. They
That
are.
happens a lot.
Yeah. And if we can identify them, and someone realizes, oh my gosh, there's one of those shoulds again. I thought I should be doing this, and I really thought I was in integrity here. And when you find out it wasn't you, it's almost like they meet themselves again.
Yeah.
It's such a
Wow.
weight. It's such a weight
Yeah.
off their shoulders.
You're right, and that's super important, right? Because I think you guys keep hitting back to the point of just finding people to find their authentic selves. That's what this sounds like, right? That seems to be like the theme.
Yeah.
Is to make sure that you help them to find themselves. Because let me tell you, it is really hard to do. It is really hard to do, right? Because even when you think you found yourself, somebody says something that kind of just you kind of veer off again, and you're like, maybe I should be doing that. You know, I thought I was supposed to do this, but maybe I should be doing that.
Should
you
know
know,
yourself.
yeah.
See how frequently we even say the shoulds.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Just,
Yeah.
what should I do?
Yeah.
And language is a big thing.
Language is huge.
Yeah,
Language is huge,
yeah,
right?
the disempowering language. Sorry not to cut you off.
No, not at all.
Just brought
I
that
agree.
up. That's one of the bigger things I could do for my client too, like cleaning up their language, like the stinking thinking or the potty mouth. That's not curse words.
Right.
It's
No, I
more
get it.
like I can't, I try, maybe. It's all that stuff, right? So I like to draw out this distinction, like for quicker, sharper decisions, so you can move the needle faster. It's a hell yes or a hell no. Can I say hell?
That's
I say
good.
God a lot. So can I say hell in this?
Yeah, you could say hell.
Okay, so it's either a hell yes or a hell no. That's commitment. There is no such thing as a hell maybe,
That's true.
right? So if you have a lot of
Very true.
Right?
Oh, shoot. Okay,
Yeah.
Coach, go ahead.
Yeah. So if you have a lot of hell maybes in your mental inbox and you haven't checked them and deleted them, then no wonder why you can't make a decision faster.
Yeah.
Right? Now, does it give somebody some to not be scared or something like that? I'm like, we can do a no for now. We can have a little no for now box, especially if you're a people pleaser, but only one no for now
Right.
in a month, in 30 days.
Right.
So you're either going to go hell yes, hell no, and then no for now, one, and no hell maybes. Put them on one column, and then watch how much energy just releases from you.
Yeah.
And then the ability for you to actually get closer to what you want to do.
Yeah.
Right?
A lot of people don't feel permission. That's the thing.
Yes.
They don't feel the permission to be able to say hell yes or hell no.
Yeah.
Right? It's usually hell maybe, even though it doesn't exist. That's really a good one. But, for me, I used to be that people pleaser person. And I knew it's because of my upbringing, whatever. I'm just bringing that up to say I never felt permission to say no. Until I got older, and I said to myself, what happens if you say no? Let's find out.
Yes.
You know? So then I started saying no, and people got mad at me, and some people didn't talk to me for a couple of months, whatever have you, blah, blah. But everybody found their way. And I
Right.
realized that all I had to do was say no, and it freed up an enormous amount of time in my life, you know? And I was like, I like this word. This is going to be my new word.
Yes.
And it started to become my new word. And so when people are like, can you take me here? Nope.
Right.
Well, aren't you home? Yep. And this is exactly where I want to be, is home.
Right.
You know? And then people and I realized that people still find their way even when you say no.
Amazing.
Actually empower them.
Yeah. Exactly. So it was actually a really great wake-up call. I kind of just did that to myself one day, just sitting there because I was feeling the stress and anxiety of having to pick this one up and drop that one off and go get that one and go get that and get this one needs money and you know. And then I'm like, what am I doing actually? Because none of this is what I want to do.
Right.
I don't want to do this. So I just started saying no. It was awesome.
Yeah.
It's awesome sauce.
Yes.
There was no hell maybe. It was hell no.
Hell no. but
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we are almost at the end, believe it or not.
wow.
That's how
Wow.
fast this goes.
That's fun.
But I just
Yeah.
wanted to know, like, what is like the one thing you want to tell someone that's watching? What's the next step that for them to pick up that phone call, that phone and call you and say, what is that question? Do you guys have a question for someone that you usually try to pull out of them to say you do need counseling or you do need coaching? Because there's nothing wrong with it, right? That's the
Right.
first step, is that we need to get over this silly stigma that coaching or counseling is bad or whatever that is. It's so silly,
Right.
I deal with that mostly with men more than I do with women, to be honest. Like most men are like, I don't need no counseling. I don't need no counseling. I'm always like, you always need counseling. Everybody needs coaching. Everybody needs counseling. I really do believe that. And I believe that there's times, I was talking to a new couple that was getting married, and I said, you really should go for premarital counseling. I said, and then continue the counseling through the marriage. And they're like, why would we want to do that? There's nothing wrong with our relationship. I'm like, exactly. This is exactly why you want to do that.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? They're
Yeah,
like, what does that
definitely.
mean? I'm like, because you're preventing the problems to happen. Why have the problems
Right.
Right.
and then go get the counseling? That's silly,
True.
right?
It
So
is.
what's that thing you would tell someone, or what do you want to tell someone, like, what do you want to tell them?
I would say if you don't know, call us.
That's good.
But also, if you're curious, call us. Curiosity can lead you to so many wonderful places.
Yeah.
If you're wondering about someone else in your life, you can give us a call also, right? So just think about if somebody was to really know you and have dedicated their education to leading different people into greater qualities of life, why wouldn't you want that person on your team?
That's right. That's good. How about you, Chris?
Yeah. I would probably say something like a foundation principle that I learned to my coaching school that really stuck with me. One of my favorite ones is that goes like this. So each moment describes who you are and gives you the opportunity to decide if that's who you want to be.
That's good.
That's
good.
it.
Yeah.
That's good. So I want to thank you guys very much for being here, because this was really enlightening, and I think a lot of people will see that it's absolutely not scary.
Right.
Yeah, we're actually hilarious.
We're actually,
Sure, you actually are
Chris is a bit
hilarious.
funnier,
I will say.
but I laugh at your jokes.
I like my own jokes. That's why I think I'm hilarious. Maybe nobody else does, but
yeah.
I'm having fun.
Have you dug into that, or?
Definitely. For another show, have us back.
That's so funny. I want to thank you guys seriously for
Thank
being
you.
here and
thank
sharing
you.
and enlightening what it is. What's the difference, from counseling and coaching? And I know you're located in Norwalk, and I just wanted to know, like, did you have? You mentioned something earlier about even just speaking to someone. Like for a few minutes on the phone or something like that. So can you just like really quickly tell me like how like I'm a client. I'm going to
Okay.
call you.
Okay.
Okay. So what's the process? Like, just so that I'm not afraid of calling or don't feel any kind of fear that I've made in my own brain about what it is to call a counseling place or a coaching place, right?
Yeah,
so
right, right.
what's your process when I call?
Yeah, right. So if you have my number, right?
Yeah.
Maybe we can release my number here in our number. Yeah, you give a call in, and we're just gonna have a conversation. We're just gonna brainstorm. I truly believe the person has all the answers inside of them. There's just some stuff going on between the ears, right, or between the heart and their head that they just can't understand where those answers are. You got them. I'm not here to fix anybody.
Right.
Nobody's broken. We're just gonna figure it out. So
That's
you wanna,
good.
yeah, you're gonna have a conversation with me. We're just gonna brainstorm. Like we're gonna figure it out. And then after that, then I might bring you into the office. We might speak on the phone again. I might come to you. We'll see where it is. You might just have a walk in nature. It's gonna be really casual, something like that.
Right.
And then we're just gonna talk about some more of the concepts that we spoke about briefly in that 15-minute conversation on the phone, and then seeing how if we would be a good fit.
So
And
the
then-
first conversation is usually like 15 minutes.
Yeah, 15
Yeah.
minutes. I just want to get to know the person, see where their head is at, see the challenge, the surface challenge that's there that they think is the number one thing going on. And then telling on how I work with my clients, and then invite them in and tell them what I would do with a core clarity session, and then just, seeing where it goes from there.
So when they
Yeah.
call, do you automatically ask if they want counseling or coaching, or do you kind of like assess the situation in the 15 minutes, or a little of both?
We'll ask in the beginning, just in case someone knows.
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
Sometimes people absolutely know.
Absolutely.
There are very
Absolutely.
decisive people out there. So I'll ask, and then I also say, you can answer, I don't know.
Yeah.
And I want to know what made you curious about giving us a call.
Right.
And then as I'm listening, I'll say, I think this is what your goals may be. And typically that ends up hitting with the person saying that is what I'm looking for and I don't know how to get there. And I'll say, coaching is the way that you get there. My partner is my husband. I trust him dearly. We've already had a conversation. I'm going to get him on the phone and I'll introduce you to him. Because we already have a connection
Right.
if I pick up the phone and it was really coaching. And then if it's counseling, we can't counsel everyone. So I'll say, we'll talk about availability. I'll say, looks like we're going to be a great fit. And if not, I'm going to say, looks like with your schedule we've met so many wonderful people. I'm going to make sure that they end up in great hands, because sometimes calling the first person took all the courage they had for the day.
That's really good. That's really good. You guys really make it feel like a very great process and very safe, and I appreciate
Yeah.
you guys for that. So I want to just end with you telling us how we can contact you guys. Who wants to go?
Great.
Go for
So
it.
for that 15-minute consultation, you can find us at coaching and counseling ct.as.me. That is right to our calendar.
Okay.
You find a spot where it fits for you to call us.
Oh, that's
You'll
great.
put in your information and we'll call you right from there.
And that's going right to your
Right to my
your calendar.
Yes.
But you also just have a general website, right? Which
And
is
that-
is coaching and counseling
CT.com.
right?
Yes.
And can I give your emails? Is that okay?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Sure.
Okay. So if you want to look for counseling, you are going to email Elena, ELENA,
Yes.
all right, at coachingandcounselingct.com. And if you want some coaching going on, my man Chris right here, and that's Chris at coachingandcounselingct.com. I want to thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions or anything that you'd like to send my way, it's hello@straighttalknosugaradded.com. I want to thank you, and we will be back with you hopefully soon. Have a good one. Until next time.